I passed my CFA level 1 and level 2 exams on the first attempt. But looking back, I know that I could have done so much better if I just avoided these 7 stupid mistakes. Let's talk about them. Number 1, not solving enough questions. When you're preparing for most exams, right, the only way that you actually prepare for the exam is by understanding the concept and then applying it through practical experience. For the CFA exam, practical application happens when number 1, you practice end of chapter questions, or number 2, you go and you read through the blue box examples that are given in the CFA curriculum. I did neither a lot of the time. My issue was that each time I'd finish a chapter, I'd almost feel tired and lethargic, and I'd avoid solving these blue box examples or going through the questions. And this kind of hurt the way I prepared, because whatever knowledge I had gained by reading a certain chapter wasn't cemented through practice. When I'd come back to revise a chapter nearly 4 or 5 months after I'd completed it, I found that I barely remembered anything. And this was a huge issue because I had to relearn a lot of chapters. The second mistake that I did was that I did a lot of passive studying instead of active studying. One of my main objectives when I was studying was to make notes. And the objective of creating those notes was that I felt that in the future, when I was revising the chapter, it'd be very easy for me to read through the notes and actually learn. The problem with creating notes is that it's not a form of active learning. You are not forcing your brain to recall what you have learned every time you create notes. It's almost like you're reading through a chapter and writing it down on a piece of paper, but you're never really revising what you've learned. And the issue with the way human memory works is unless we keep repeating things to ourselves and we keep revising, things don't get cemented in our memory. Another issue with writing notes was that it was so time consuming and draining that by the time I reached the end of the chapter, I wouldn't feel like revising again. I'd almost want to move on to the next chapter so I get a sense of progress. For level 3, I've recognized that the way I approached my first 2 levels was not efficient enough, and I've decided to implement something known as active recall. Active recall involves taking a topic that you wish to learn, creating questions based on that topic, and then repeatedly testing yourself based on those questions. By forcing your brain to retrieve the information, it ensures that you actively learn it instead of passively reading it. Not only do you make the information that you learn more easily available in your mind, active recall also highlights the places where you're actually weak and places where you can actually improve in your study process. It teaches you about the chapters that you know less about, and it also tells you about the things that you know well so that you can avoid repeating them again and again. If you are a candidate to studying for the CFA exams, then I really suggest that you implement more active methods of studying instead of passive studying. Test yourself regularly and force yourself to revise topics again and again and again. It'll save you a lot of time in the long run because you won't have to relearn chapters because you've forgotten them. The third mistake that I did when I was studying for my CFA exams was having this guy in the room, my mobile phone. You know, I'm actually getting worried about how dependent we are on our phones on a day-to-day basis. It's terrifying actually. You might find yourself in the middle of a deep study session and there's something that you don't understand about a concept that you're reading. So you decide to pick up your phone and you start Googling the doubt. Halfway through the Google search, you might look at your phone and notice that you got a reel from your friend on Instagram, and you open that reel and you check it out and it makes you laugh. And before you know it, it's so easy to keep scrolling and keep going through content. In 5 minutes, the purpose of you getting on your phone to go and complete a Google search has been completely defeated. The problem is these small breaks actually add up a lot of time over long study periods. You might think that picking up your phone in the middle of a 1-hour study session to use for 5 minutes might not add up to a lot of time. But think about this, if you're studying for 4 hours a day over a 4-month period, this 5 minutes adds up to a whopping 40 hours worth of study time. Yes, I did do the math. You end up wasting 40 hours worth of time just because of a 5-minute break that you take. You know, to add to the loss of time, there's also something known as attention residue that happens every time humans switch from one task to the other. When we switch from tasks, what happens is it's not an automatic switch between our focus. Some of our focus gets left on the previous task and we're not able to completely come to the new task and be present in the work that we're doing. So when you suddenly take a break and look at your phone for 5 minutes and you come back to studying, your attention tends to be focused on the Instagram reel or the jokes that you just consumed. And actually speaking, that 5-minute break has now ended up eating up into 10 minutes of your study time. Time lost like this is catastrophic for your preparation. And this is something that I just wish I could have avoided. If you manage to keep your phone out of the room, then you can actually eliminate that 5-minute break that you might impulsively end up taking. The fourth mistake that I made while I was studying for my CFA exams was that I completely neglected my posture. So this point is a little bit out there. It might not apply to everyone, but one thing that I noticed when I was studying for my level 1 and level 2 exams was how bad my posture was. So while I was studying, I was constantly slouched over with rounded shoulders, sitting on a small desk and trying to complete my studies. The problem was not that I didn't complete my studies, of course I put in the hours, but once I was done with CFA level 2, I also began to develop this amazing neck pain. It's taken me nearly 8 months to recover from the damage that I did during my level 1 and level 2 preparation, all because of bad posture. I've had to invest in a better desk setup, look into ergonomics, and also improve my posture regularly. If you find that you're sitting at a desk for longer than, I'd say, even 6 hours a day, then I'd strongly suggest you invest in things such as a good monitor, a good laptop stand, and a good chair to sit on. All of these investments will help you significantly improve your body posture and help you to perform for longer periods of time, and also help your body to maintain itself for a longer period of time. Do not neglect something as simple and important as posture. The fifth mistake that I did during my CFA preparation was taking a break between CFA level 2 and level 3. Let's just say that you've been training for a big race for the last 6 months. You complete the race, get over the finish line and get a finisher's medal. Sounds fun, right? Now imagine that you decide that you're done running and you decide to dedicate the next 6 months to other pursuits. You start eating junk food all the time, drink sugary beverages and don't even think about doing a little bit of cardio. What do you think happens to the body when there's suddenly such a drastic change in fitness levels? The same thing happened to me when it came to my abilities in studying. I finished my CFA level 2 exams in November 2022 and I just started preparing for my level 3 exams. What I've realized is that taking such a long break after CFA level 2 was not the sharpest of ideas. It is something that you develop over time, and if you ignore it or neglect it for a long period of time, it is also a talent that you can lose. Just like the runner who's been drinking a lot of coke and eating a lot of junk food, I need to get the junk food out of my head now, and I need to start training myself mentally to take the CFA level 3 exams. Where if I just continued and I took my level 3 exams in August, it wouldn't be such a stop-start process. One more thing that I've realized is that over 10 months, it's so easy to forget so many of the concepts that you learned in level 2. I will also have to relearn all that stuff now in order to do well in this exam. The last and final mistake that I did is mistake number 6. As you guys can probably tell, there are plenty of places where I've not been at my best when I prepared for these CFA exams. But none of the mistakes that I've made come even close to the mistake that I'm going to talk about right now. I did not subscribe to Filtercoffeefinance while I was studying for level 1. And I only subscribed to the channel halfway through my level 2 preparation. Just taking this one simple action would have given me access to countless study tips that would have saved me hours during my preparation. Friends, don't make the same mistake that I did. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider dropping a like. Thanks for watching, dear friends, and until we meet again, this is Filter Coffee Finance signing off.